Hello Collective, this is your timeless reading. Please bear in mind a few things before we get started. Feel free to check out the description box below to see if you would like any of my services or to check out any kind of content links that are made available via the description box below. Please remember that past, present, and future energetical timelines could come forth of vibrancy to use your discernment to take all of that which belongs to you and to leave the rest behind. To know that the collective reading for this channel is read solely for the energy of Sekhmet. Seventh is the one who reads for her. And if you're looking for emotional redemption of any kind, if you checked out of any other content of this channel, you'll know to check out my sister channel, and any content made available there or coming may be for your assistance if you're looking for emotional redemption. All right, so let's see what the collective energies are. It's a bit melancholy, like uninspiring a bit. The founder, foundations, community. Needing to create a safe space, because there are people who are in your consciousness kind of like out to harm you, out to get you. And it's not a reality. However, it's a real emotion. And that emotion is to assist you, bringing you into a more security of the foundation you already have, or to make you question the foundation you're currently residing in and to see whether or not you need a new residence. Okay, so this could also mean a change of address, change of atmosphere, redecoration if moving is out of the question, revamping your living space. If you have a small living space to create, I'm hearing a 1 foot by 1 foot 12 inches by 12 inches space in the proximity that you are in, where you sleep, to kind of bring yourself to a, like they call it an altar, but you're not necessarily an altar. It's more of your energy that's focused. It's focused intention that you like to go back to, because it gives you a place of comfort, a place of home within a home. And that will help you and your higher self, even if you don't know who your higher self is just yet. It will help channel in smoother communication between the two of you. There's an act of community coming around again in the ether of trying to fix problems, is to build a new community, and that kind of has to be rechanged. The narrative about that has to change a bit because it's still very toxic. The Magician, inspiration, gratitude. So the community, there's a lot of, there's a lot of vortexes of people like, all right, I don't know what to do, so we need to make this a communal effort. All right, like healing often perpetuates the idea that you want to get more and more people in your niche of circle, and to then have an entrusted circle, a confident circle, an honest circle, a communal gathering of importance where everyone feels equal. However, there's again some toxicity coming through to this awkward song and dance, because I'm hearing it's the same song and dance over and over and over again. And ether's paying attention to those who maybe use the word community to trigger the importance of what the next step ought to look like, but not making it the same blueprint as it was before. Okay, because if it's entailing the same blueprint of information of what I did before, we're kind of perpetuating potential downfall for it to happen, because the foundation is not very secure. It's based off of old traditions. The Merchant, self-worth in trade. Yeah, so this is to answer the question as to if it's not community that we seek, what is it that will bring the overall equilibrium and justice for galactic universal justice? And it is understanding the integrated detail to what sovereignty means and what sovereignty means on republic lands. And republic lands is what the United States of America is. It's not a democracy. And to understand that is to understand your self-worth and to look at everything that has been given to you with a different tone, with a different ear or a different heart or a different spirit, to kind of see if this new energy, this new opportunity can unfold maybe in different ways and not in old, outdated traditions. The Libra scale is very prominent here to understand why Libra is also the only zodiac sign that is an object. And the irony behind that Libra power being justice, lawyer perspective persona than the ego than most other zodiac signs. And being an object is for you to have a better understanding the mold that you're filling in, or the mold that you feel you have the potential to fill in. So having a sense of idea who you are is next to nothing the nickel and dime struggle of trying to figure out what your self-worth is. That in and of itself puts you in the merchant ideology, because the merchant is someone, I'm going to guess in energetical theory right now, is someone who is not someone who's part of the pack, is more of a would-be said leader, is kind of like the outsider and outlier I'm hearing as well. But the merchant has a lot of goods, so the transaction, what the merchant has to offer is worth that trade worth of currency. And the one thing that we can really do to heighten our own awareness is to pay attention to ourselves more than having to understand the relationship between where money goes, because money is not the justifying aspect of what keeps the world spinning in your life, even if it means it is needed to help understand wants and needs and desires and such. It keeps something motivated. However, take away money, you're still living and breathing. It's just certain obstacles may not be as your quick transactional expense, or it might not be, things might not be right around the corner, So we transactionalize human trade with one another to represent that the material thing that we're trading, we're putting not only a value of it, but a value for the person who's interested in this trade to respect not only the value, but to understand that their choice in the purchase is the end of the transaction. So if they choose it and they make the transaction has already been done. Even if you haven't paid money, your attention to the situation, the transaction has been done. And that's to kind of take away the relationship between what it means to actually be 3D, or to have a philosophical understanding to the emotional representation of what it means for a human to be human. There's a need for collective individuals to understand their collective individual sovereign right. It is not about free will. It is not about practicing your non-binaryism. It's not about practicing your femininity or your masculinity. It is about understanding your full-on worth, what it means to be a Homo sapien. To understand that is to have to obliterate all the things that your ego knows, because your ego is only going off of wanting to protect the subconscious, which it doesn't have a really close relationship with. And the subconscious that has and understanding how the ego operates wants to manipulate the ego to get the right answers out from the subconscious into the consciousness. And thus, when it helps to understand why thoughts are there, why challenging yourself for positive mental attitude or aptitude or wellness helps turn the key a bit differently to sit better in the lack of opportunities. Okay. Of course, the death card would come in and shut all that out. Yeah, there you go. All right, so what the ether never fails to disclose is misery. Even the people of the most fortunate backgrounds will experience the need to embrace losses. So death is something that is inevitable to all and for all to experience in one way or another, whether it's an immediate knowing of close proximity to you, done by you, and you're paying the highest form of treason for that, or you had to and you're coming out and being put back into the society because you paid for your dues. There are no losses to how bad life can get, whether it was at the cost of your hands or at the cost of another. Inevitability is that death always is around. Whether the person is alive and breathing, there are a lot of people who are alive and breathing to tell the story of what you or what we get to define as wisdom, because they had near-death experiences or they had to overcome very traumatic situations in life that make them astute to being able to collaborate words that make someone feel as if they know not only what the fuck they're talking about, but that they can relate to other people and that they're not staying stagnant in their pain. There's something to be had by those who have been institutionalized and making their way out into society, that those who've been in society all along and are in a way shackled to the narrative what society gives will never even be able to embrace what someone who has been institutionalized and then has to rehabilitate themselves into society, what that kind of feeling is. There's such a loss as much as there is a newness. It's like a new baby being born into the ether of some kind of time and space. And there's so many expectations for this baby to be a certain way that if the people who are responsible or are in close proximity of this baby, they may have bruised egos and become a bit annoyed, impatient with this baby. And this is what's lacking with humanity, is patience. Patience is what's lacking. There is an over obsession of needing to understand twin flame, love, relationships, but you get them in a second of any kind of chaos. They will be the first one to shun it, first one to say, I don't believe in number 666, but throw them a fucking 222 and they're like, oh my god, it's my ancestors are trying to talk to me, but they won't research the number 666. They will only take a perspective that really fits their narrative to the point that their ego is satisfied and any emotional need to address anything gets pushed under the rug. Like, it's a false ideology based on a narrative. When you get someone in it to try to ask them, why do you like this narrative of love and light? They're saying, I don't know. I don't even know if I think love is unconditional love or not. Then what's going on? You know, if you have no security and anchoring of any kind, then what are you doing prophesizing your life as if you have things figured out? Because you don't. In a way, none of us really do. It's a huge waiting game, and for those, some can't stand the wait, and others are so excited for the waiting game. And the ether has fun with it all. So 4 is a prominent number here, all right, with the stability here, with the death card here being number 13, and 1 and 3 being 4. And this really wants to address the need to find a sacred space for yourself, starting with the one in your mind. But to assist ourselves, we may need something externally to allow our relationship subconsciously and consciously to harmonize between the two. So that's why a small spot of where you are would be great to help you become reignited, re-inspired somehow. This doesn't have to be a forever thing. I'm hearing for at least a year to have something long and withstanding, and honestly, a lot can be accomplished after doing something as a ritual for 365 days. Okay, nobody has a ritual perfect of like brushing their teeth every fucking day, let alone twice a day. All right, let alone shitting once a day. Like everyone has some kind of biosystem that if they were to compare it to what the system wants you to be, we're all fucked up. We're not perfect. Okay, so to understand that in that imperfection we are perfect, we can then reassess what we may need, build a better relationship to speaking, verse, dialogue, projection, and then be able to understand our mind much more. And then by doing so, we slowly take away ownership that the system has over our mind. I didn't really think I was very specific on the need to really I did. I put a ritual on something for something and alter a space. Yeah, I did. And then if that's not good because you need to change your space, it just means change your space, okay? Like take that message how it may resonate. Moving, I don't know, cleaning. Two of Cups. So love is unconditional, all right? The reason why it's unconditional is because you human have too many conditions to understand the worth of receiving unconditional love. So the moment you have that awareness and quote unquote belief, you immediately already have an unconditional love pursuit. Unconditional love is non-binary. It's feminine and masculine relating with each other. How it looks like is absolutely to the mystery of the universe. And the voice boxes of those who are a representation of her. So whatever anyone wants to be called is what they would like to be called. It is very simple. It is an old tradition coming its way back again here with the 8 of Cups. It's an old tradition coming its way back again with a new dialogue to understand what the fuck is going on instead of being so butthurt by all these changes. Butthurt by all these changes, 7 of Wands and 4 of Cups here, all right? Understanding that there's a purpose to all this individual, and this individual needs to understand to go back into sovereignty, the Tower, okay? Because the destruction happens with the mind, the Star, okay? Like I said, the ether comes in and makes it known that the human is tiny compared to all the forces that are at B and are at bay. And to understand any kind of hatred or misunderstanding towards the narrative of what it means to be feminine or masculine is illegitimate to the cause. What is important is to understand that no emotional manipulation should take place for the vessel that's an expression of universe to feel slighted, that they have to appease what they should look like by someone else. And that's the problem with society now and all these other gender difficulties that are happening and the losses that are happening, the systemic problem. And it's all because people have indoctrinated themselves into thinking that paying attention to a person is more profitable for a cause than the person paying attention to themselves. The Six of Pentacles is a mini justice card. The Ten of Cups is here to let you know that yes, the emotional journey is a beautiful one, but the emotional journey is not what offers you interconnectedness with individuals. Oftentimes when you go to your problems with someone else, the person feels guilty that they don't want to unleash all their problems to a person because they don't want to be a burden to the person that receives the emotional offload. For that, they're stigmatized into thinking, you know what, why don't you just pay a co-payment to the therapist, and the therapist will shut the fuck up, and you will listen, and he will listen to everything that you have to say. And then sometimes, because I've been in a situation, the person who books the therapist doesn't feel the best because the one, they don't want to repeat their story over and over and over again. And then there's a little bit something missing, because if it's not a good therapist, a good therapist doesn't trigger the mind, rather trigger the emotions. If you trigger the emotions, is an ongoing, like, and this is no shade against anyone because I'm not a professional at anything. I'm just a healer over here, okay? So this is just personal experience and a mixture of collective energy and channeling. And understanding the value of any of those energies is to just pick her at the things that you resonate with. That's it. And if you don't, it's drama that you don't have to fuck with. You just leave it behind, right? That's how quick the energies of anything is to be determined, but especially by the universe that doesn't have any emotions. You are the example. You're a symbolism of the way the universe is complex. For thus you have a human body. That human body belongs to you. And if your human body is confused as you grow and mature as to what you are feeling within you, then you need to stop trusting other people until you feel the richness within yourself. Okay, and you need to feel in a safe environment that even if the community around you doesn't validate that inner journey, you need to be on a conquest to get that type of community that will give you that security, period. And if you feel like it doesn't come quickly, it's because the universe is asking you to move, because your move is much slower than the universe already having fixed the problem. Your footprints are at a much slower frequency than the frequency where light has already put everything in place for you to get to where you need to go. That's a much faster vibration. The emotional process, again, being processed by you, who is a frequency of so many hertz, is still having to go through the cycle of what these feelings are, why they're there, why is there pain, why is there confusion, why can't I hold on to the good things, why aren't there as many good things as there are bad things, like all these fundamental questions. But these fundamental questions aren't bad to have. Again, the narrative of good and bad is void in this area. It's about understanding what you're made of, and then finding a niche with building your intuition, going back to vulnerability here. Doesn't matter how old you are. Age is just an ongoing ticking of the clock. And reaching a safe spot within yourself. That safe spot can only be generated by you and can only be maintained by you. Everyone else that helps you build your own foundation is basically their own version of a merchant supplying you the trade that you need, and vice versa, to be who we need to be. I said, needing to pull back, Virgo energy. Finding maturity in the wisdom of within, right? And sparking that fire from within. Within. Never external validation. External validation is in that case a synchronicity to what you already know. Five of Cups, Five of Pentacles. Yeah, I know. There's a lot of narrative within the self that makes it just absolutely difficult to want to go around the cycle again, to want to do it, to want to step out into the light, as you would call it. But the rose here is important, because the only way that you have emotion towards a dried out rose petal is after it's been cut, it's sitting in your vase, and it's no longer blooming in the lusciousness of standing upright and that vibrant red, and however, it's still there. A lot of people tend to maybe look at the rose for the beauty after it's been cut and it's sitting in a decorative vase in a living room, and celebrating something, maybe being gifted for someone for a celebration of some kind, or show an extension of love. But it's so strange, isn't it? Taking something beautiful, cutting it without being able to really know if you have received permission from the thing that you've just cut it from, and using it, decorating it the way you want to, and then just when it's done illuminating the way it already was doing, it was already dying the moment it was cut, you are now mourning the change, the chemistry change, the chemical makeup of the change of the rose. Now you're mourning the loss of the rose's maybe once meaning, unless you're like somebody who maybe keeps dried roses. This is just an analogy, by the way, right? So that is the interesting part about some people, that their awareness of cutting the flower isn't being more made aware that you just took a child from a mommy without ever asking the mommy if she was okay and letting go of the child. And because the mommy of the plant can communicate with that with you, and you were superior to it because you had the tools to it, and you got away with it, then it's okay. It's weird. It's really weird. It's really strange to think that because of that type of character, over echelons of time, people think that they can play God with that. And meanwhile, the only thing that they're doing is perpetuating an ongoing rhythm that just doesn't make sense. And so if it doesn't make sense, how can sense come out of that? Intelligence and money. She's being very gentle with you right now. Mother of Cups energy. She doesn't want you to lose focus on the fact that the emotions is responsible for helping you understand the path that is that you're walking, or the path that you feel isn't there for you to walk. Because ongoing narrative is for you to be vulnerable, be polite and charismatic to other people, maybe have manners, never be disrespectful. But then that narrative that pushes you in polishing your ego and your character and personality still can make someone feel very off-put and imbalanced by never being able to really be honest with what it is that they're feeling or seeing or experiencing. So it's another sense of love and infatuation with self, but it's being born out of confusion, because the question of do I ignore this feeling that's so loud? I just haven't been taught the right words or energy or whatever have you to be able to address this feeling, or what is it? All these emotions are very important to factor in with the quest of what needs to be uncovered, rediscovered, defined, polished, chiseled away, and let go of. So that way, the energy that is left once you let go of it permeates itself, evolves, and comes back to you in a better relationship, in a better light. Ten of Pentacles. You'll always have secrets. Those secrets will be about the relationship you have with not only yourself, with your ego, with your super ego and your higher self. Those are all secrets. They're all secretive, but they're always honest, because if anyone were to ask you about anything, you'll be motivated to either talk or to react in one way or another. For that, and that's universal justice in real time. There's no getting away from ignoring any energies that have to negotiate, have to transactionalize. And what's a secret is how things get done for everyone else to be satisfied in knowing how they get done. All right, for that, everyone is their own version of a private investigator. It's the best way I can describe that energy, because the moon is such a controversial energy for me. A lot of people say it's Cancerian energy as well as Piscean energy, but I also see Cancerian as well, like some other readers do. And it's filled with the illumination of the moon first, right? Because if the moon were just in the sky as a rock without any of the sun's rays having been absorbed by it, we may not be that intrigued by it. It's just this thing in the sky, right? So all we're fascinated by is the absorbing of light that the moon has done. Everything else about the moon, however, we don't really know. If you go into science, you'll never know the other side of the moon, allegedly, right? So there's always going to be a fascinating form of secrets. However, none will ever be very secret for those who have eyes to see. And that's part of the mystery, and that's part of the game, and that's part of the fun of it all, of how we're all interconnected, but we all have our timelines and our differences and all different multiverses and mini-verses to live out a pretty damn individualistic life. If you want success, you need to be able to identify when moments are wrong. The moment that they're wrong is wrong forever. You have to answer to the wrongness, so that the wrongness will feel better once it has a new environment to adjust itself to. It is your responsibility to take your version of self that you have come to grow to learn, and the version that you're born with, to have an interconnectedness. Yeah, to learn more about yourself. Because the universe is there to help give you the things that you need right up upon request. To move towards success is to move inward towards discovery. collaboration of your inner selves, reconciling with your inner self, your memories, so that you have a better chance at remembering the things that you need to remember, including your Akashic records. Onward is life word. Know thy curiosities. Words are repeating. Transcribe through knowing. Yep, that's it. If you like any of my services, so please check out the description box below. I'm wishing you a wonderful morning and or night wherever you are in the ether of this time and space, and may you keep flowing, growing, and glowing. Take care.